because there's a place out west of town that's called Blue Springs, and it is one of many springs along the White River that run down to the Mississippi. But the waters were considered healing waters by the native people who lived here. And in fact, this area was considered a no-war area. So many tribes would come in, would bring their wounded in, and they would heal here with these springs. And then when the Civil War happened in America, the North and the South had a line that runs up to a little town that you've seen a sign to go into Rogers called Seligman. And they built a railroad spur that came from Seligman down to Eureka Springs. And Eureka Springs became the Las Vegas of America at that time, because the railroad went from Fort Smith, which brought cows in from Texas, and went north, got Oklahoma, and then up in Seligman, the train went on up into St. Louis, where they did the slaughterhouses and would bring them in. After the Civil War, there was a Union general who took some of his Confederate prisoners, and they decided to do some work in this town. And this town has a distinction in that after New York City, this town had the first central sewer collection system in America.
Wow.
He was from New York City. They had put that in. 30 years ago, New York City, their systems began to cave in. I don't know if you'd heard of that, but they had to go in and replace all of it.
Yeah.
And this happened here about 20 years ago. The old clay pipes began to go in. But Eureka Springs had always been a place to come and heal. And so when the white man came, he continued that. Back in the 1880s, Eureka Springs had burned down twice. It was all wood. Everything was wood. It would be a fire. It would just go and burn down. And in the 1880s, they brought stonemasons from Germany who came over, and that's who did most of the stonework that's all around town. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And then that railroad track, that's when this became a vacation tourist place for Vegas for rich people from the East Coast riding the train down and coming in a spur to this little place in the Ozarks. On y'all's way back to Rogers, you go down a hill and there's a place that says Leatherwood. And there's a city park there, which is the second largest city park in America after Central Park in New York City. It'd be interesting for y'all to go down, and there's a little lake and a dam, and there's still some old structure, stonework that was built from that time. Up at the top of the hill, there's a hotel called the Crescent Hotel.
Yeah, we read about it.
Oh,
What is this here? What is that?
this building is the Flatiron Building, and named after the Flatiron buildings back in the bigger cities in the coast, which are at a V in the road. This was rebuilt
Okay.
back in the early 80s. In fact, where we're working on those are the windows to, my wife has an art gallery there. She's a folk artist, fairly well-known person. She's been in Crystal Bridges, she's been in Nelson Atkins up in Kansas City and all. She's been there like 30 years. Okay. But that's what that building is.
Wow.
And
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
This one?
This is the Basin Park Hotel. As you read, you can read lots of stories about it. The top up there, that used to be a grand ballroom back in the early 90s. They would have ball dances and that sort of thing. It was at one time, I think in about the 1920s, the Census Bureau that they took, there were like 30,000 people living here at that time, because so many people would come in to get to heal themselves in the water.
And it really new?
Well, they really believe they did.
They really believe
They really believe they did. I mean, people keep coming back.
What is those water?
Well,
Sorry,
there's a town south of here called Hot Springs.
Hot Springs.
Hot Springs.
That is the water.
Okay. They have the same kind of history that Eureka Springs has. And they have done some research, and what they have found is the water that comes up here and there has a higher silver content in the water. And they think that might be part, that mineral might be something that would aid in certain people's healing. But you know, all the way back in mankind, people have gone to water to be healed.